Hi, my name is Richard Griffin. Thanks for buying Coke Zag. I've always loved the zigzag can of Coke, which was invented in 1978 by a guy called Carlton Bradford. And I have one, but I always felt that the box was incredibly big for the size of the can of the Coke. So I wanted to come up with something similar, and I wanted a box that was just about the size of a can of Coke. And also I wanted to have holes in the front so you can actually see the can at all times. So I created Coke Zag. So let's see what you receive. So you will receive this black tube. You'll receive the bottom half of the box, which has a turntable in the bottom. The top half of the box, which sits on top of the bottom half like that. This one has a piece of Coke can already inside. You also receive this, which is a piece of plastic which has another piece of Coke can just stuck on. And you receive the blade. Now, in addition to all this, you'll need to provide a can of Coke. So the setup is as follows. You take the black plastic tube with the strip at the top, and you place that into the top half of the box, like so. The black plastic with the piece of Coke can on the front, this you want to put into the turntable. Now you'll find there's a lip, plastic lip, and you want to just slot it in between the turntable and that lip, and it lodges in just like so. Alright, so when you look at it this way, it obviously looks like it's an empty box because you're looking at the back of the shell, which is black, and it looks like an empty box. This then goes into your table. I usually have a black box table, so everything is out of sight, so the audience don't see any of this. That's how I do it, because you have to hide this because of the fake there. Obviously you don't want the audience to see that. So this is all in my box. Alternatively, if you have a table like this, you could put a screen in front of it. It's up to you. Okay, so you're reaching your table and you take out your can of Coke. You can examine it, have it examined if you like, it's up to you. I then reach in and take out the bottom half of the box, and I place the can into the bottom half of the box, but you need to make sure you line up the lettering with the shell, so it's lined up correctly, because now you're going to turn both the can of Coke and the shell so it comes into view at the front here. For this you just need to put a little bit of pressure on the can, so you're pushing it on the turntable, not a lot, just a little bit. You might need to practice this a little bit just to get the right pressure for you, because obviously on the bottom of the turntable is a piece of rubber and that grips the bottom of the can, so you can turn both the shell and the can at the same time. So from the front, what I do, I usually do it twice a day, or you can see the can all the way around, and then I twist it once and then I twist it again, and this brings the shell into view. But I do it quite briskly, so it's quite fast, so you don't catch the shell coming across. You don't want to do it slowly because obviously you're going to see the edge of the shell, so it's a brisk twist. I then go in, take out the top half of the box. Now I do it like this, so my fingers are covering obviously the hole with the fake piece in, and my thumb is holding on to the black tube which is in the top. Of course you could hold it, if you wanted to, this way if it's easier for you, from the side. But personally I just hold it over the top like this, and I place it straight over so that plastic tube that's inside goes straight over the Coke can, and then I slot it into the slot at the front, and my hand comes away and I just adjust, and that reveals that piece of fake can there, and it still looks like they can see the whole can of Coke, but all they're looking at are the shells. Now you're going to go for the blade. Now when I go for the blade, I bring the box back to my body, and as I bring it back to my body I tilt it slightly because the can is going to come out of the back of the box. So my little finger's here, it's going to fall over the top of that finger like this. So body's here, and as I go for the blade, I just do this, and as you can see the can falls out, and as it does I use my body just to push it back in flat as far as it goes. So the only thing that sticks out is the black portion here. Now from the front, this is actually, like I said, this is a parlour trick as advertised, and that it's for, so maybe like you've got an audience of 20 or 30 in front of you, in rows, in chairs. This is a perfect trick for that. Close-up is not really a close-up trick, but I mean you could possibly do it as a close-up trick, but again I'll leave it up to you. Stage, you could do it for stage, but you know, if you're in a theatre of 1,000 people, it's going to be a bit small. So if you're doing it on stage, you'll need to have some cameras and some big screens so people can see what you're doing. But I make it for parlour, so I have maybe people, 3 or 4 rows of people in front of me, about 20-30 people, for a parlour presentation. And if they're at that sort of angle, they're not really going to see this sticking out the back, because they may be about 6 foot in front of you. People right at the extreme side may catch a glimpse, but I usually have something dark as well to wear, like this, and or black, and then of course the gimmick can blend in to whatever you're wearing. And that's how I sort of do that. You then go for the blade. Like I said, you pick up the blade and you just slot it straight through the box. You can then slide the top half across. Don't bring it right over because you don't want it to come out of the slider at the front. You can then do this with your fingers if you want, and you can put your hand under here, and you could turn it as well like this, so you could show, so it looks like you're seeing it all around, and of course your hand's hiding the fake here. You then slide it back, and then I bring the whole thing to my body. So if I take this, so it's here, and I come back to my body, so the can is touching my body, and I remove the blade. Now as I put the blade down on the table, I bring the box down, so it's kind of a natural movement, as if you're doing this, and as you're doing that you're pushing the can back into the box. So from the front, it looks like this. You pull out the blade, and it's obviously at chest height, and then as I put this down like this, the can is now back in the box. So I'm just bringing it down and pushing the can back in. Then all you need to do is put your hand over the top again, this way or this way, covering the fake piece here. With your thumb, you push the black fake and you pull off the whole thing like this. This then goes back into your table, so you can get rid of that. Then all you need to do is to twist this back, so you can see it's back into one piece, and I do it like that, so it's kind of one twist, then 2 twists as I remove it like this, and put this straight back into the box. And I show it still in one piece. Open it up, and you can pour all the contents out and give it to someone in your audience to examine, and can drink if they like. a little pointer. The can that you use, make sure it's not an ice cold can of Coke. You don't want an ice cold can of Coke, you want a room temperature can of Coke that's all nice and dry. If it's an ice cold can of Coke that's just come out of the fridge, you're going to get condensation on it and it's going to be wet. And of course if the bottom's wet and you put it into your gimmick, it could just slip on the rubber. And of course then you won't be able to turn the fake around with the can of Coke. So if it's wet, it's not going to turn. So you're having that problem, that's probably why. Also, if you're having a problem with it turning, it should just by a little bit of pressure on, don't really push it down, but just a little bit of pressure on the can as you turn it. So you're pushing the can against the rubber, it will turn with the can. You can, if you really need to, but you shouldn't have to, get a file and you can file a little bit of the rim of the Coke can there, so it makes it a bit rough, and then that would actually really grip the rubber on the turntable. You shouldn't have to do that, but if you're having problems with turning it, then you can do that as well. So you can adapt this to use any can, which is obviously the same size as this one. It's a 330ml can. If so you wanted to use Sprite or Fanta, you can, but you need to change the gimmicks obviously in the boxes, the shells. Now this one here, if you remove this, don't just pull this straight out, put pressure onto the turntable and pull it out like that. This is actually just got a little strip of double-sided sticky tape, so all you need to do is pull this off the plastic sheet here, and inside the top half you'll find that it's just velcro, so you can actually just peel it off and take out the whole gimmick, which looks like that. And again, this is just double-sided sticky tape on the inside, and it's stuck onto this plastic sheet here. Now, I will warn you, if you peel this off, you're going to ruin these Coke gimmicks. Okay, so you're not going to be able to use this Coke gimmick again. You'll have to throw them away and make a new one. But when you do peel them off, keep them, because you need to make them exactly the same size as these. So these could be a guide. So when you peel them off, they just look like this. Again, they're not going to look as perfect as this. They're going to be bent up because you've just peeled it off the double-sided sticky tape. Even if you're really careful, you're still going to maybe get a little dent, a little fold, and it's not very advisable to use them again. But you can use them as a guide, so once you've pulled it off, you can then put it onto your other can. Say this is a Sprite, and you can put it on where you want to. Maybe on the front of the can if it's a Sprite can, and then draw around with a Sharpie marker. So then you'll get an outline, and again with the top piece you just put that on to the can. You can draw that around that with a Sharpie marker and you'll get an outline. Obviously empty the contents first and then cut into the can. Now I use these little scissors here. Now these are like haberdashery scissors, sewing makers scissors, that sort of thing. And this is so you can actually get right into the top of the can and snip around it. So you can get, because you want to get this ridge of the can, you want to get that. And it's quite difficult if you're using big scissors, so you will need a little tiny pair of scissors. As you see, they're very small because they've got very small pointy blades on, and they can get right into the top of the can and snip that away. The rest of it's quite easy to cut. But when you've done that, you'll have two pieces like this, and then you just stick them back on. Just put a piece of double-sided sticky tape here, and you can stick it back onto the plastic gimmick here, and again bit of double-sided ticker tape there, and then stick it onto the plastic sheet. So then you make your new gimmicks. Then all you do is insert them back into the boxes. Make sure they're straight. And again, just push this one into the bottom bit. Again, make sure it's nice and straight. And you're ready to go. So this is an updated section of the video. I'm going to show you some more handling techniques, which may be a little easier for you if you can't grasp the ones that I showed you already. And also, if I have brought out some wooden versions now, and this is the mahogany version. If you have one of these work exactly the same. Everything works exactly the same as the plastic version. You have your black fake. This is the top bit. You place the black fake into the top like that. In the bottom, if you have the wooden version, you'll see there's a piece of sponge in here. That's just to hold the turntable in place during transit, so you can get rid of that. You don't need that. And as the plastic version as well, I've already put a piece of Coke can on the gimmicks for you. Of course, Coca-Cola they do change quite a lot. They do change their style of can quite a few times during a year, so this may not match what you have, so you may have to change this anyway. And like I said, if you do have to change this, I've showed you already, but on this wooden version, because this piece is already in place, you just peel this piece off and then you can stick another piece on, but don't put pressure on this because you could bend it. When you stick the other piece on with a piece of double-sided sticky tape, do your things like this, so the things are underneath and on top of that piece of aluminium, so you're not putting any pressure on the turntable because you don't want to break it. Okay. Also, if you have the wooden version, when you first receive it, this piece of Coke can may have come up a little bit, may have come away because obviously it's just stuck on with double-sided sticky tape, and the reason for that is obviously so it's easier you can take it off and replace it. And again, just if it has come up, just stick it down with your fingers either side of that piece of aluminium. Okay. The setup exactly the same though. I'm going to show you a different handling technique now. So the first bit is the same though. You put it inside and you twist it around. That's pretty easy. The second part though, when you pick up the Coke can out of your box or something where it's hiding and you put it on top, if you're finding this difficult to hold it with one hand, because obviously you've got to cover this piece of fake Coke can with your fingers and you've got to hold on to the fake with your thumb. If your hand's too small, you can't quite cover it, just use two hands. Okay, so when you reach into the box to take this out, you can cover the front with this hand here, and this hand, your thumb, just holds on to the fake. So you're holding it like this. Okay? And then you bring it over, out of the box and onto the top of the can. So you can do it that way, it's a little bit easier. Now also, the next bit, obviously you have to have your little finger here and then you bring it back and you let the can fall out against your chest like I've shown you. Again, if you're finding this difficult to do, another way you can do it is like this. You still need to put your finger, you still need to hold it like this and you need to put your finger like this. You can though, as you put the top box on, you look like you square it up like this, so it looks like you're squaring it up, and in that moment you can just put your thumb into the top and just drag the can down like that. I'll show you again from the front. So you put if you do it with two hands, you put it on like this, and then you can pick it up and just pretend to square it. In that moment you bring your hand there, you put your thumb in and you just drag it down like that, and now it's on the outside. Okay, from the side again, you put the thing on, you picked it up, and then you just look like you're squaring it and you pull it down over your little finger. So that may be a little more easier if you're struggling with letting it fall out against your chest. Then you put the blade through, and you divide it into two. You can wave here, push it back, remove the blade, and then the same thing again. You can put it at your chest and you can roll it as you put the blade down, like I've showed you before. But again, if you're finding that a little bit hard, I mean that's fairly easy to do. But if you are struggling with that, when you've taken the blade out and put it down, you can then come up like this and then take the top off like that. And in that moment, what you've done, you've placed that down here, and your thumb hits the top of the fake, and you push the whole thing up. You're pushing it back in the box as you come up and take the lid off. And again, if you can't take the lid off in one, you can do the same thing. So you put the blade down, and then you come here as you put the box on the table. Okay, and in that moment you push it up with your thumb. And then you can do the same thing. You can remove it with two hands to reveal, put this away in the box, and then you can either pick it up and twist it like this and take it out and give it out, or open it up and show it's a real can. I mean, you can also have it on the table if you wanted, and do that moment like that, and do this. Of course, you just got to be careful that no one's too high and looking over the top, because if they're looking over the top, they'll see that there's no back to the box, and they'll see the gimmick. But if people are sitting down and they're looking up, or they're at eye level, then you can do this on the table and just twist it so the fake is obviously in place, and do it that way. Okay, so that's just the updated video of the new handling technique.